For 17 years, I, Naomi Quinn, shared my life with Michael, a man whose secrets were as carefully guarded as a vault. On the night he died, his trembling hand gripped mine, and his final words were not of love but of urgency. "Naomi, promise me you'll never go to the old house in Blue Heron Ridge." Tears blurred my vision as I nodded, vowing to honor his wish. For 3 years, I kept that promise, carrying the weight of his words through the fog of grief. But loss has a way of reshaping loyalty, and in May 2023, a small wooden box changed everything. The box was delivered by Daniel Price, Michael's attorney, in his polished oak office in Silver Ridge. Inside was an antique key, heavy and ornate, attached to a brass tag engraved with one word, Ridge. Beside it lay a letter in Michael's unmistakable script, "The house is yours now. Go there once, see what I've built for you. Only then decide what to do." Daniel explained that Michael had purchased an estate in Blue Heron Ridge 4 years ago, a secret he kept even from me. "The land is valuable," Daniel said, his voice gentle. "Summit Crest, a resort company, is developing luxury villas nearby. They've offered millions." I turned the key in my hand, its weight pressing into my palm. Michael and I had lived comfortably on his engineering salary and my income as a botany professor, but a second home in Blue Heron Ridge, a prime mountain location, was unimaginable. Why had he hidden it? And why had his last breath been a plea to keep me away? The answers, I knew, waited behind an iron gate in the mountains. 2 days later, I drove through winding mountain roads, the key resting on the passenger seat. Towering pines cast long shadows, and my heart pounded with every mile. The GPS announced my arrival at a massive wrought iron gate framed by stone pillars, the words Blue Heron Ridge twisted into the metal. The key turned smoothly, and with a reluctant groan, the gate swung open. The estate stole my breath. It wasn't a modest cabin, but a sprawling house of stone and timber, surrounded by gardens sculpted with precision. A cobblestone path wound through manicured lawns to a porch where flowering vines climbed the beams. Michael had rarely spoken of his childhood in these mountains, dismissing it as painful. Yet here, he had poured his soul into creating something extraordinary. Inside, the grand hall was breathtaking. Vaulted ceilings, a stone fireplace tall enough to stand in. But it was the walls that stopped me cold. Hundreds of paintings covered them, each depicting orchids, my lifelong passion. Vibrant petals in every hue, captured in brushstrokes both bold and tender. I dreamed aloud of an orchid garden, and Michael had listened quietly. I never imagined he'd been listening this closely. At the room's center stood an oak table, a silver laptop on it, topped with a single white orchid. As I reached for it, the crunch of tires on gravel snapped me back. Through the tall windows, a black sedan pulled up, and 3 men stepped out. Michael's brothers, Victor, Pierce, and Noah. Their resemblance to him was uncanny, but their expressions were hard, predatory. They weren't here to welcome me. I froze, hand hovering over the laptop. Victor, the eldest, led with a stern jaw and graying hair. Pierce, the middle brother, carried a leather briefcase, his eyes sharp. Noah, the youngest, trailed behind, watchful and quiet. They pounded on the door. "Naomi." Victor's voice boomed. "We know you're in there. We need to talk about the house." Michael had warned me about his family's bitterness, though he'd spared the details. Now, their intent was clear. They wanted the land, now worth millions. Ignoring their knocks, I opened the laptop. It prompted for a password. With trembling hands, I typed the date of our first meeting and the word hope. The screen unlocked, revealing a folder labeled for Naomi. Inside were video files, each dated. I clicked the first. Michael's face appeared, vibrant and alive, not the pale figure from his final days. "Hi, my love," he said with a crooked smile that pierced my heart. "If you're seeing this, I'm gone, and you've come to Blue Heron Ridge. I knew you would. I recorded these so you'd never feel alone." His voice steadied. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with a brain aneurysm. The doctors gave me time, but not much. I didn't want you or Sophie living in its shadow. So, I built this place for you." Tears streamed down my face. Even in death, Michael was protecting me. Then his tone darkened. "One warning, Naomi. My brothers will come. They believe this house is theirs. Don't trust them." Another knock rattled the door. "Naomi, this is family business." Victor shouted. "Open up before we make this legal." I paused the video, my pulse racing. Through the window, Pierce waved a sheaf of papers, Noah's eyes cold. Michael's words echoed, "Don't trust them." I clutched the laptop, knowing the answers lay here, not with the men on the porch. Michael's voice seemed to guide me. "Look in the drawer beneath the table." I opened it to find a thick blue folder labeled Proof in his handwriting. As the brothers' pounding grew louder, I flipped through deeds, notarized signatures, and bank transfers, ironclad evidence of Michael's purchase. Then sirens wailed, and a patrol car pulled up. A young deputy approached. "Mrs. Quinn, I have paperwork for a property inspection due to a contested inheritance claim." I handed him the folder. His eyes scanned the documents, and his expression shifted. "This looks valid," he told the brothers. "Contesting ownership will need to go through civil court. Not here, not today." Victor's face reddened, but they retreated, their sedan crunching down the drive. Relief washed over me, but it was fleeting. The house held more secrets, and I needed to find them. Drawn to a glass structure at the garden's edge, I entered a greenhouse thick with the scent of soil and blossoms. Rows of orchids, rare hybrids and delicate species I'd only read about, stretched endlessly. At the center, a brilliant blue orchid glowed in the light. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a woman's voice said. I turned to see Teresa Park, in her 40s, wearing work clothes, holding a spray bottle. "Mr. Quinn hired me to care for these orchids and the property if anything happened to him," she explained. Michael had built a sanctuary and entrusted others to protect it. Teresa led me to a weathered tool shed, where she revealed a trapdoor in the concrete floor. Unlocking it, she guided me down a narrow staircase into a fluorescent-lit room, a command center. Maps of Blue Heron Ridge lined the walls, red circles marking areas for Summit Crest's expansion. Binders on a steel table held receipts, emails, and affidavits. "This was his war room," Teresa said. Michael uncovered Summit Crest's plans and his brother's financial crimes. "He wanted you to have this to fight." My phone buzzed. It was Sophie, our daughter. "Mom, why didn't you tell me about Dad's property?" she asked, her voice tight. "Uncle Victor called. He says you're confused, and we could split the inheritance if I help challenge the will." The ache in my chest deepened. They were targeting Sophie now. "Don't sign anything," I urged. "Don't meet them alone. Trust me." That afternoon, I met Sophie at a Silver Ridge cafe. Her guarded expression softened as I showed her a video from Michael's laptop. "Hey, sweetheart," he said. "Your uncle stole my inheritance with forged documents. I walked away, but they haven't changed. Don't let them twist loyalty into greed." Sophie wiped tears away. "What do we do, Mom?" "We fight on our terms," I said, squeezing her hand. Back at Blue Heron Ridge, Sophie and I spread the blue folder and binders across the dining table, transforming the hall into a boardroom. With Daniel Price's guidance, we prepared for a civil challenge and a negotiation with Summit Crest. I called Evan Carr, their CEO, knowing the ridge was the linchpin of his expansion. The brothers arrived the next morning with a suited advisor. Victor proposed splitting the property, dismissing the unusable western acres. I clicked a projector remote, displaying a map aligning those acres with Summit Crest's golf course corridor. Their advisor frowned. "This changes things." Evan Carr and Daniel entered. I slid packets across the table, proof of the brothers' fraud, tax evasion, and embezzlement. "Withdraw your challenge," I said, meeting their eyes. "Or this goes public." Victor paled. Noah looked away. Sophie's voice cut through. "You stole from my father once. You won't again." The brothers left, defeated, their adviser trailing behind. Evan stayed, studying the maps. "You hold the linchpin," he said. "What do you want?" "Not money," I replied. "Protection. The land stays intact, the greenhouse and studio untouched. I'll lease a portion, but the rest becomes a conservation zone. In return, fund an endowment for the orchid collection and an art program for healing." He smiled. "You're asking for stewardship. I respect that." In the East Wing, I found a studio with floor-to-ceiling windows and shelves of brushes and paints. A storage cabinet held my old college paintings, preserved by Michael. A wrapped canvas read, "For when you're ready." Unwrapping it, I set it on an easel and painted, the first stroke like breathing again. Weeks later, Victor returned alone, holding a photograph of him, Pierce, and Michael as boys, Michael clutching a tiny orchid. "I was wrong," he said softly. I believed him. Sophie and I watched Michael's videos daily, learning his plans and stories. I painted in the studio, colors spilling across canvases. The silence was no longer heavy. It was alive. One final video waited, hidden deep in the laptop. "Naomi," Michael said, "the house, orchids, and studio aren't the legacy. The real legacy is choice. To love, to build, to create, even when life takes everything away." I painted a woman and her daughter on the ridge, a man offering a blue orchid. Michael's gift wasn't the house. It was a way back to myself. Strength is quiet, born in silence. Family is loyalty, not blood. Legacy is love carried forward. If this story moved you, guard what matters in your life. Tap like to share it, comment your thoughts, and tell me where you're reading from. For more stories of quiet strength, subscribe to The Art of Revenge.